Hi, it's Roger here with episode 36 of Entrepreneur TV. Welcome back to another episode, and thank you to everyone who posted your comments on the last couple of videos. I asked, should I continue with this channel because we're coming up to the 1 year anniversary, and I got so many positive responses, so thank you. I am going to continue. I'm going to keep adding value as much as I can week on week for everyone on your entrepreneurial journey, and we have some really exciting places that I'm going to be going to and meeting up with entrepreneurs in the coming months. So I'm going to be adding other people into these videos as well, right? So looking forward to it. Thanks again for everyone who posted, and thank you to everyone who asked questions because it's Q&A time. But let's make this interactive, right? I would love to hear where you're from and what you're doing right now. So post down below your city, your country, or who you are, and what's your business, right? Just post that down below. I have got a map in my room, and I've actually put a pin somewhere in the world, and whoever's closest to that pin, I'm going to give you a VIP ticket to one of our fast forward events somewhere in the world, whichever one's closest to you, to come to sometime the next year, right? But just for fun, and to see who else we've got actually watching this channel from around the world, go ahead and post below who you are, what you're doing, and your city and country, right? And then I'll kind of tell you in the next video who it is that's going to get that ticket. And questions, let's go straight into the questions here. Lots of questions. We have here Inga Lohman. Hi Roger. I would like to hear you say a few words about motivation. How do you keep yourself spreading so much positive energy? How do you motivate yourself, especially when hearing negative news or receiving rejection or criticism sometimes, which I assume you rarely experience, but even you cannot completely avoid? Hey, I tell you one thing, right? The higher up you go in the spectrum, or the more you choose to make a stand, the more you can expect criticism, the more you can expect rejection, the more you can expect people who you don't even know saying nasty things about you. It just comes with the territory, right? And by knowing that it's kind of like a sailor going out to sea. The further out you go, the waves, the higher the highs, the lower the lows, it's just going to happen. But that comes with the territory. Then basically it's just part of what actually happens as you actually go out and make a stand for something, right? But be really aware that that is going to be the case. So don't get kind of like downhearted when you have people you don't even know starting to say negative things about you, right? But here's the good news. There are 3 different powers you can access, which I'm sure somewhere in these videos I've mentioned before, but 3 different powers that if you really get how they work, you can realize why some people find motivation so tiring, while others don't even think about it and they're motivated all the time. Why? Because number 1, there's a type of power called elected power, which is like a wind-up radio, right? It's kind of like you're not connected to anything, so you've got to wind yourself up every day. If you're at the foundation prism, this is what it feels like. It's like, oh, every day you're there, like, I've got to motivate myself, I've got to motivate myself. And if you forget one day, then you're demotivated, right? So you think, well, how do those people who've actually always, like, you know, always motivated, always seem to be on their game, why is it that they can do that? It's because they don't wind themselves up at all. I mean, they figured out they can connect to power. It's like a plug, right? It's like connected power is different from elected power. It's the second type. Connected power is what happens when you're in a team or when you're in a market where every day the actions and opportunities of others is just taking you up in this flow as well, right? Like, you know, if you're in a business and every day you've got customers wanting things, you've got, you know, team members who are looking to connect with you, then of course you're going to be, you know, swept up in that flow and in that power, and you don't have to motivate yourself. You're just going to be in action. And then the third type, which is what happens when you go from foundation up to enterprise, which is elected to connected, and then you get up to alchemy, which is reflected. And this is what I aspire to, is where you're on such a mission or such a journey of purpose that you don't even have to plug in anymore, right? It's kind of like, it's like just the sum of the energy of everyone who actually is on your mission with you actually sweeps you up every day, right? This is called reflected power. It's kind of like you don't have to plug the radio in if it's solar powered, right? It's like it's getting the energy from everything around. And you'll notice that all the most successful people in the world who just seem to have superhuman power, they're actually connected into that reflected power because they're on such a mission that every day there's just this energy that comes their way, right? So do know that as you go higher, while you're going to end up with more criticism and more rejection and more negativity, you're also going to be able to weather it better because you're going to be tuning into a high level of power. Okay, hope that's helpful. Richard Bacon. The success interviews are a great idea. More please, right? So we did a few interviews in the most recent videos. Could I ask you to go into more detail on how to communicate with other profiles effectively, especially ones who have not investigated or really embraced the idea of wealth dynamics? My particular challenges are a blaze genius, a deal maker I think, and an accumulator, both of whom are key positions in my life, one in business, one in personal. Okay, so one thing I want to share with you, Richard, and really with everybody, anything you believe, whether it's wealth dynamics or whether it's running a business or whatever it is, like, life is too short to have to put the energy in to try and convince someone else of your beliefs, right? What's really important is for you to know that everyone already has a level of truth. I never try and convince anyone that, you know, because they've got a particular profile, they have a particular way for them to be successful in life, or even that, you know, having a business or having investments will actually create more wealth and more happiness in the long term and more freedom in their life than having a job they don't like, right? I mean, everyone has to have their own level of reality and truth by which they live that they're going to connect with you. Best thing I can do is suggest you go watch this video right here. There's a link. Follow this video here, which is called The 7 Truths of Wealth Dynamics, which allows you to meet people at their level of truth, including your loved ones, which allows them to actually then relate to where you're at and also do it in a way where there's no argument, right? It's like we've all got different levels of truth, and each level, whatever you decide, will define the reality you then live in, all right? So go have a look at that video. Peter Saidi, question. I have established that as a creator, so creator like me, I need to stop running my own companies and focus on creating solutions. So now I am busy looking at appointing a managing director for each. Okay, so that's good. What qualities should I be looking at? Should they all be lords of mechanics? Your advice in this regard would really help me tremendously. Thank you again for your videos. I am seeing a better future for myself. Awesome. There's another question here from Tim Wilson, which is similar. I have an online retail business, betterhardware.com.au, with boundless opportunity. We have a small team, but I haven't quite overcome the octopus effect. So remember, octopus effect I talk about, it's like when you're yellow level where you're the one worrying about everything and you go get this big team, and it's called octopus because it's basically many tentacles and small brain and everything sucks, right? So this is what happens when you're like trying to get all these different people coming on. It's like, okay, so for the Q&A, how can I attract an awesome team? Does it begin with an attractive business vision? And looking forward to coming to Bali in November. Awesome. Okay, so see you then, Tim. Peter is in South Africa. Tim is in Australia. They've both got the same problem, which is how do you actually build the right team? Okay, so first of all, definitely having a mission and a vision, which is something that the team actually aligns to, number one, is super important. But secondly, is an executable plan, which means in the next year, you know exactly what you want to achieve and they know they can achieve it. And instead of you being the one telling them what you're going to achieve, they're the ones telling you what they think they can achieve, right? That's the difference of yellow and green. Yellow is when you're trying to get people to meet your expectations. Green is when you're finding out what people's expectations are of themselves, and then you then are helping them to exceed their own expectations, right? That's a big switch in the way you're looking at it, which is not how do I make money, it's how do I help other people make money. It's not how do I have things to do, it's how do I help other people have things they can do successfully. So if you think about it that way around, it's about saying, right, so do I have an executable plan which they've helped put together, right? And whenever I'm taking someone new on board, I won't start by looking at their resume. I'll start by basically saying, if you were coming on board, what would your plan be to improve what we're doing and give you the life you want to have by being part of this company, right? And if they can't put that plan together, they're not already operating at yellow or green level, which means I'm going to have to work hard to look after them, and that's going to be another tentacle on the octopus, right? But most importantly is team composition. Team composition use the 1, 2, 3 formula, right? So this is like the rule of thumb when you're actually setting up a business using wealth dynamics. If I'm a creator, so Peter and Tim, you can both use this as a creator. Number 1, that's me in the center. Then I take 2 across, 1, 2, that's supporter. The supporter is the best person for me to have to run the business. And then 1, 2, 3, that's the third leg of the stool, is the accumulator. That's the best second person in command for me to have in my business that's going to do all of the financials and to look after all the detail, right? If I had those 2 people on board, I've got the right team. So for example, when I started Talent Dynamics with Michelle, she is a supporter profile. Genius U with Suraj, he's a supporter profile, right? So different supporters are really good at not going and recreating everything you've just created, but really good at executing what you've created and actually doing it better and growing a team better than you can create, right? And then, I mean, we have a general manager now who is Sandra, who's a Lord, but that's at the holding company level. And having someone who's metal level or winter, knowing the how and knowing the systems at a holding company level is fine, provided you've got people who are market facing, driving your businesses like supporters. So Peter, go find someone like a supporter, much, much better than going finding another creator, right? Or a mechanic. Tim, same thing, go find someone like that, but know you need to have that extra person as well, or else you're gonna have a gap. When we had 3i, that invested in my publishing company, I had a supporter. I had a person who was a really good publisher at that point. His name was Peter Watkins, and the 2 of us who were running the business, creator, supporter. They said, we won't invest in you unless you get yourself, they didn't say accumulator, but that's what they meant, a financial controller that was really good at doing all the detail side. They actually helped us to find that person, then they invested in us, right? So know that even investors out there know that you need to have all the bases covered in order for you to have a solid team, all right? Okay, next let's come to Monica. Monica is in Mongolia. All right, my ultimate question is how to get from yellow to green level. Currently, I'm doing it all by myself. So remember, yellow level is one person doing all things. Green level is all people doing one thing. Difference of like one player compared to a high-performing team. I'm a dynamo. I need a supporter. Wow, a lot of dynamos here. Where and how do I find a supporter and create a team to work with? My challenges are, number one, it's difficult to find a supporter who speaks Mongolian and can stand up for the value I'm creating. And number two, I need the right infrastructure in place to support their growth. How do I make $1 million and invest 9 million for others becoming wealthy, right? So basically this is all about like, how do you make sure you're one level up? Here's Monica here. I'm going to show you Monica's new site, right? And you can see it's all in Mongolian, and everything that Monica is about is bringing entrepreneurship to Mongolia. So Monica, here's what I'll share with you, and I'll share with everyone else as well. You can either try and climb your way up by getting people below you to push you up the mountain, or you can get people above you to lift you up, to kind of give you a helping hand. So there's many examples of people I know who have been entrepreneurial that have actually ended up getting connected up with people who they then partner with to then end up becoming really successful. Here's a couple of examples, right? I mean, here's an example of someone in Thailand. His name's Nadasit, and he basically he actually partnered with us, where now, as a result of him partnering with a global brand on entrepreneurship, that's allowed him to be able to now create a really strong brand for himself. And what he's done is he's actually learned how to be green level by working together with a company, ourselves, who are also green level. Right? Here's another example, someone that I mentioned and we actually had on interview on our Melbourne video, which is Heather, who basically connected up with Supercamp in the US that already was working at green level, which allowed her to start impacting kids in Australia with a program and with a system which was already at green level. So the most important thing is to know that if you want to get to green level fast, it's not by trying to educate people around you who aren't at green level to be green level, or even to educate yourself to be green level. It's to partner with people who already are green level, which means they already are partnering up with people, they already have got the promotions in place that work, they already know how to make money and how to deliver value. And so think who in your industry globally is already someone that you could be working with. Partner with us if you like to. I mean, I'd love to be doing things in Mongolia right now. And then you'll find straight away by getting connected in with the right people on the right team, you can straight away have all of the tools and the rhythm and the structure that you need to be able to operate at green level, right? And it's the same for anyone listening. It's going to be the same key thing for you and your industry as well. Okay, Richard Beaumont, humandesign.info. That's his site here. Quite a long question here, but I'll try and summarize it. I run a specialized service in which I teach online and at live events, right? So there are a number of different ways he does it. I do individual readings, I sell books, I film products. At the moment, I'm plowing through creating a personalized report online. So that's what he's up to at the moment, and he's trying to get a book out. I've got hundreds of hours of film, so he's got that as well. New websites being prepared. So there's lots of to-do lists on here. My question is, I have pension money, which is in stock market. It's been there for 4 years. It's basically gone down in value. You know, should I take that money out and should I use that money to then fund all this activity that I have right now? My current thinking is to either wait until I know precisely what jobs I can delegate or just get the hell out of the stock market so I don't think about it anymore and have the finances ready when needed. Okay, so most important thing, all right? There's probably a few people who are listening to this who've got either bad investments in the stock market, bad investments in property. Separate that out and solving that problem from your business and what your business needs in terms of funding. If you have an online businesses generally don't need funding because all online businesses should be able to actually make money from day one. I mean, think about any Indiegogo Kickstarter campaign. All of them actually start with basically money in the bank before they've even created the product. So if you haven't yet figured out a way to do that, you're going to find immediately that if you just start putting money in, that you're already starting in the wrong way, which is that you're already starting cash flow negative, okay? So if you have money, don't use that money in that way. Maybe redesign your investments, maybe find new advisors to work with, but always keep the money that you're actually making from your business aside. Don't keep throwing it back in your business, because ask yourself, if I was putting the money in, would someone else put that money in as well? And if you're really going to put the money in, put it in as a loan and make sure you're getting a return on it. But in your case, Richard, I wouldn't even do that. I'd keep the money separate and I'd say, right, I'm going to make it a discipline to make sure if I'm going to be launching something, I can do it and I make money at the same time. Okay, let me give you an example, right? So first I'll give you an example from in our situation, and then I'll give you an example in Richard's situation, right? So in our situation, we have Wealth Dynamics. Every couple of years, we do an upgrade. So we have an upgrade of Wealth Dynamics that's coming up this August, September, which is called Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics 3.0, which is our kind of like third iteration, where we're going to be actually giving everybody, including everyone who's watching this, your own personalized test results with now the new report, right? So there's going to be a new report coming out. You'll get that in September. So we're going to be launching that for everybody, right? And we've got what I think is closer to 500,000 people now who actually have got like on our database that actually are going to be getting these reports. But we make sure that everything we do is something which adds value and which makes money at the same time. So one thing we're going to be doing is the month before, we're going to our best customers. And so you'll be hearing about this as well in August. We'll go to our best customers and we'll say to them, if you'd like to get the entire pack of all of the Wealth Dynamics reports and the Talent Dynamics reports 3.0 before anybody else and be able to actually be part of this spreading the word with everyone, here's a super special deal which allows you to actually get this and get it out to everyone within your network. And every time we've done this, it's been super successful. It's got our most avid fans and supporters, then also spreading the word before we even launch it, and it generates money for us and it generates money for the people that are part of it as well, right? So you see how that works when we do it. But the most important thing is we start from day one to say, what size promotion are we running? You know, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars will it make? How much in multiple of that in values are going to give? And if you started in that same way, Richard, what could you do, right? So here's Richard's site, okay? So you can see at the moment there's no clear call to action, and obviously he's redesigning his site right now. But you can see also that what he has within human design is basically a link. It's also a profiling system, right? And I think there are definitely, because it has 4 different types within it, there are definitely overlays between human design and wealth dynamics. But what you'll see if you actually go look at the video and see the information, if you delve deeper, which most people won't do, right? Because it's not clear enough yet what this thing is. Unless you come for one of his events or hear about it, you're not going to find out from the site. But one thing you'll find out if you do go into it is that it links to the I Ching, it links the Zodiac, it links you know, the Zephyr from the Kabbalah, it links all these different like ancient systems together into a way that you can have your own human design map, or, you know, which basically is linked to who you are and what are the ways you should go about living your life. So there's some power in all of this, but at the moment it's kind of hidden behind everything. So because Richard has got all these people already who are part of his network, if he started by saying, right, let's imagine we're going to do something which is going to make $10,000, it's going to launch the new site, it's going to be something which is going to allow him to have a core group of people who are going to be advocates for what he's doing, then you don't start necessarily by going out trying to charge $100 or $50 to a bunch of people, because that's going to take a long time to actually get up to speed unless you have a big database already. But you can go, instead of multiply, you can go and magnify, which is go to a small number of people. You know, could you find 5 people willing to pay $2,000 each, right? Or 10 people willing to pay $1,000 each? You know, Richard could go out and say, we're going to be launching the next version of human design, you know, human design 2.0. And we are going to be working with 10 people where we're going to take your best stories, we're going to take your maps, we're going to include that as basically case studies within the reports. I'm going to work with you over the next 3 months. Right, over these next 3 months as we work together, I'm going to give you personal mentoring where we actually will get into a group call together, maybe, you know, once a week. You know, over this period, you know, there's going to be a cost over the 3 months. Let's call it, you know, $3,000 each, right? I mean, if you're going to have 10 people, that's $30,000 now, $3,000 or $1,000 a month. Each of them basically now have got an experience where they're going to be part of a really core group, and their map is now going to be part of something which all people are going to now get. They're going to be able to share their story, and also people are going to get to know about who they are. And at the same time, they're going to get all this value from Richard, who actually is the leader of all of this, right? Now, what's the chances you're going to find 10 people willing to do that out of everyone within his database? And just by going out and inviting people in, you could even go out to the people that you feel are the ones you'd most like to have come on board and say, I'm going to invite you before anybody else. And people love to have an invitation into something where they feel that you're acknowledging them for their support of you. And at the same time, even if they say no, they're going to still thank you for having invited them in the first place. So someone like Richard could actually create that. He doesn't need to take money from stocks or anything like that. He can take money from the people who already has goodwill with, and then from that money, make sure they're getting a much higher return than the money they're paying. And it's a one-off as he's launching a new product, right? So that would be a really simple, easy way that someone like Richard could do it. What could you do within your business to go to your top clients and provide them with an experience which is going to be more than they'd otherwise get, in such a way that they would feel special, they would feel acknowledged, and more importantly, they're supporting you and keeping you accountable for whatever's the new product or the new launch that you've got coming up as well, all right? Okay, so I hope that helps for you, Richard. A couple of last ones I'm going to go through here. We have Melissa and Aidan. They have a website called The Savvy Academic. Okay, so The Savvy Academic is a brand under our parent company, which is called the Global Educational Network Technologies. The Savvy Academic is about professional development for learning professionals at all levels. We focus on 21st century teaching and learning approaches, gamification, the flipped classroom. So industry awareness is growing. I'm being booked for conferences and seminars. We have more business than we can manage. This is a good problem to have. And over the last year, we've been taking on more projects than we can handle. We've identified components of every project to outsource, and we've done this primarily with talent from the Philippines. So we've freed up our time to a certain extent. This is all going in the right direction, which is great. So congratulations to you too. But we would like to fill the pipeline with more clients without employing a business development manager, right? So the question is, how do we rebrand should we rebrand this whole company to something called Learning Encounters and continue to use a Savvy Academic as part of a marketing funnel, or should we leave things as it is? Okay, so one thing I've mentioned in the past, I'll mention it again, one thing really important is that you have a very clear distinction between your company brand and your product brands, and your product brands and your personal brand, right? So you've got company, and you've got product, and you've got personal, all three linked together. And what's really important is to know your personal brand often will be as a result of a voice piece. Like, Oprah Winfrey has a product brand, which is something like the Oprah Winfrey Network, or what was the Oprah Winfrey Show. But her company brand, Harpo, which is Oprah backwards, is where she actually is owning all of these brands, right? So in your case, I love the idea of Learning Encounters as your company brand. But from the company brand, you then have got the Savvy Academic, which is your product brand, right? That's one of your platforms. But you should actually create a number of other products, which are your services, which, just like the Savvy Academic, could then be a number of different services that are then provided, which are all part of that, right? You could have the Savvy Academic Mastermind group, right? You could have the, Savvy Academic, 3-step pathway, which is allowing people to really get how they become a Savvy Academic themselves as an individual. You could have Learning Encounters workshops, which are specifically for now entire classrooms to come together. But once you start creating these different product brands, then it makes it much easier for you to do product partnerships, as opposed to what's happening right now, which is it's all coming through your personal brand, and then you're having to fill up those products because they're not clear enough as to what they are. So we have Entrepreneur Institute as our company brand, and then we have a whole bunch of different product brands, which includes Wealth Dynamics, Talent Dynamics, the Millionaire Master Plan, and so on. And each one of them people will then support. But if they like our entire company, just like if someone likes Apple, then they'll like all the Apple product brands. And in the same way, if someone likes Entrepreneur Institute and what I stand for, then one form or another, they'll choose whatever is most appropriate to them to be able to actually use as a product as well, right? So that's what I would suggest in your case. Emma Coldwell. Okay, we've got our final two here. Final two. Emma actually now has moved out to Bali. She says, I'm a creative mechanic and I wanted to ask about your routines for when and how you set aside planning activities, short-term and long-term, specifically in terms of unexpected opportunities arising with joint ventures popping up and so on. I'm finding that with networking my resources, I have so much that is available in terms of opportunity. I love these stories where a number of you have gone from a place where there was no opportunities to suddenly having too many opportunities, right? I think this is awesome. And although I naturally love planning, it just feels almost as if I require more time reworking my plans and strategies. Okay, so I mentioned Apple earlier, right? You can take any big multinational company. They do not just suddenly just switch and go, oh guys, we said we're going to do this, plan this year, but we just changed it all because we had this great idea to do this. They always are working 1 or 2 years ahead, right? Even when they're doing mergers, even when they're wanting to list their company, they've actually got plans that they've actually planned out ahead. We do the same thing as well, right? I mean, I know that as a creator, the worst thing I can do is keep showing up to my teams and say, guys, I've got this whole new idea. So I have certain times when we actually check in on these things. So for example, once a year, we have at the end of the year a 1-week leadership retreat where we actually are planning out the whole next year, and whatever we plan out, that's what we plan out, right? Anything that I have as a harebrained idea on top of that, I gotta wait until next year, right? But I'm okay with that because we've already set up this year to be the perfect year. If I have someone come to me saying, Roger, can we work on this or this? If it doesn't fit in with the current plan to hit the certain things that we've actually set, I'll say, well, that's great, but it's gonna have to wait until 2016. And everyone's always fine with that, right? So Emma, in your case, the same thing. If you've set out your plan for the year and you know you're on track, you can always add something into 2016 and start planning ahead. I'm already planning for 2017 or 2018 because we've already set up 2016 for success. And the further you can set yourself up for success, the more every year you're living the perfect life that you've chosen for yourself without overloading yourself, right? And the last thing you want to hear when you're in a plane and you got up to cruising altitude is to hear the pilot come on say, ladies and gentlemen, we're up to 40,000 feet. And this is our cruising altitude, but wow, we got here really quick. So I'm now going to go for 80,000 feet. You don't want to hear that. And it's the same with your own flight path. If you create a flight path for the year and you know what you've set out for the year, then move things into the year after, right? Now, we also have got every 3 months a quarterly meeting. We just had one in Melbourne where we have the whole team come together and we check in. How are we going against the plan we set? Are we ahead? Are we behind? And what can we add differently? And if there are tactical things or certain partnerships or things that we can add in that make sense for the next quarter, that's when we'll do that. So if I have people I've met that I think could add in to support something, or something which is a new strategy or new system I think could work, I'd bring that up at the quarterly meeting. But I wouldn't be disturbing my teams on a day-by-day basis, trying to get them to do new things when they've already got the plan of what they're doing right now, right? So important. You don't want to uproot the things that you start planting, because things tend to take at least a season to be able to root, right? So that's why everything works 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, just like you've got 4 seasons in a year. Okay, so just make sure you're changing things or you're adding things, but you're doing it with a time frame which is like a year down the line or every 3 months, and that way you won't keep on thinking you have to keep uprooting things. Okay, and the final thing, Jay Braden. Just this past weekend, I was able to finish a few more exercises on Genius U, add a bit more information on my profile. I'd like to connect with people there. I have a few real-life friends who are getting interested in Roger's work as I tell them about it, but they aren't moving into it quite as quickly as I'd like. I'd really like to connect to more people who are actively involved. How can I do this, right? Okay, 2 ways you can do this for everyone listening. One, like I said, is down below. You post who you are, what you're doing, and what is your country and city. And you can just connect with people right here on this video. Second thing is, do get connected on my Twitter or my Facebook page, because everyone who's obviously following me along on those are people also who are like really aware of the things that I'm sharing as well. So you can find there's people there that you'd want to be connecting with as well. That's the second way. A third way is that we do have our Entrepreneur Mastermind, and so I'll leave a link down below if you want to come and join that. That's where we actually get together every month and everyone gets to know each other really well. So you can come along, be part of that if you'd like to. And then the final thing is, look out in the next 2 weeks for the redesign of Genius U, where we're adding a whole bunch of new features in. It looks awesome, and we're giving people a chance as we go through the developments in the next month to actually get connected up with other people on Genius U. So you can actually make your own friends, create your own circles, even if you don't know them at the moment outside of that. But you'll already find, even on Genius U, if you go to the community section or if you go to any of the missions, you look at the people that are on there, click on their profiles, you see the little kind of like icons to their Facebook pages and so on. You can get connected to the people who are actually right now on Genius U by just using that pathway. And of course, those are all people who already know exactly what the missions are all about and what everything we've been talking about in these videos are all about as well, right? And in fact, you'll see even the rankings. Like, I'll just show you, here's a flow of the rankings. You can go click on any of these people who are active on Genius U, and I'm sure that if they're the right people who can support you in the right way, with the right passions and with the right talents, then they're going to be happy to do that as well. All right, so do make the most of the network, and remember, at the end of the day, your success will not come down simply to how much you want to be successful. Your success will come down to how much you've surrounded yourself with people who want you to be successful. So have an awesome month ahead. I look forward to catching up with you on the next video, and have an amazing time both on the new missions that we have. We've got a new mission which is on Genius U called the Genius Guide to Health with JJ Virgin. So see you on there, and we'll catch up with you on our next video.